let me start by asking whether you listened whilst we were playing the voice of the deputy minister.
No, please.
Okay, but have you had opportunity of listening to the things he said in Parliament yesterday?
Not yet.
Okay, but there's a question.
I think I listened to. Yes, I think I listened to him yesterday when he was mentioning that government took off some 15
yes, and that's the question I'm coming to. As we speak, what measure is in place? Because government says it has done something. Do you see any measures in place currently in terms of the fuel pricing to reduce it?
I don't actually see any prudent measure, any efficient measure that will see price of petroleum prices dropping locally. What they've done is even to cripple certain sectors of the petroleum industry, because if you look at the 15 peso margin the government took off, the government did not touch any of its taxes. The government did not touch any of its levies, but rather the government took off what we call the distribution margins on diesel and petrol. And these distribution margins go directly to the transporters of these products within the industry. So, for example, if you look at what they took 9 pesos per liter from what we call the Unified Petroleum Price Fund, which is UPPF, and this money is paid to transporters who cut these products from the depots to the retail outlets. So already they were taking 29 pesos per liter for cutting these products, and they were complaining that even the 29 pesos, due to incessant increase in fuel prices, they were also facing challenges, and because of that, they could not pay their drivers well. They could not even insure their drivers. They couldn't even pay their investors, return on investors or investment or a certain dividend. So, government taking 9 pesos out of that 29 pesos was also going to cause a problem. But government was adamant and took that from them. Now, if you take the other margins government took, I think Boss government took only 2 pesos per liter from Boss margin, which is also kind of strategically Boss was placed to keep products, reserve strategic products, so that in future, when there are challenges on the international market or certain uncertainties, Boss could come to the aid of the petroleum consumer in Ghana by releasing those stocks they've reserved onto the market. As we speak, Boss cannot even reserve a product for even a week, because they will tell you they don't have the resources. The next they took us fuel market margin. I think they also took 2 pesos from there, and then the last is primary distribution margin also. They also took some pesos from there, but the chunk of the reduction was on the Unified Petroleum Price Fund, which doesn't go to government, rather goes to the transporters within the petroleum sector. So they did not put up any better, efficient interventional policies that will see petroleum products pricing dropping in Ghana. Because if they actually had done that, wouldn't have seen price of petroleum products nearing 13 Ghana cedis or nearing 14 Ghana cedis per liter.
So you're saying that even the 15 pesos has not provided significant reprieve, significant enough to ensure that the Ghanaians is at least to a certain extent cushioned from the increasing fuel prices?
I'm not saying that, but pragmatically on the field, if 15 pesos were to do something good, prices wouldn't have reached 14 pesos per liter. Right? So the 15 pesos, I am not saying it, but on the field, at the retail outlets, on the price boards, what the petroleum consumer locally is saying is that the 15 peso reduction was not the best that government could have done. The 15 peso reduction was not the prudent, efficient measure government could have taken. And even the 15 peso per liter margin government reduced. Government reduced it for only 3 months, which we know that if government doesn't bring any policy or statement after the last day of June, there's going to be the reintroduction of that 15 peso per liter on the price build-up. So nothing was done.
Then the other measure he talked about was the issue of, he said there's a forest measure, sort of, in that sector. Do you know about this? Because one of the major issues that I've heard you raise is the availability of forests to go and buy the products.
Yes, so earlier when prices started increasing, there was this guarantee and assurance by the Bank of Ghana that BDCs licensed by MPA will have access to the forex, whereby they will trade some bonds, auction the forest rather, the auction some forest to the BDCs to import products from. However, it also shows that that measure is not also efficient. It's not effective on the field, because the last time that particular communique came out, the dollar was around 7. The cedi was around 7 Ghana cedis, 85 pesos to a dollar. As we're speaking, with all those measures or policies or communications and whatever, today the dollar quoted by the BDCs is 8 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos. The cedi quoted by the BDCs to a dollar is 8 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos. So it means that with even that particular assurance of auctioning the dollar to the BDCs,
gold.
So the cedi is depreciating against the dollar, even from the BDC's perspective, because that is why they are putting a higher cedi rate compared to earlier projections the BDC told them. So
please, can you restate the rate again?
So when the Bank of Ghana came out with the Minister of Finance with that measure that they were going to auction dollars to importers licensed by MPA. At that time, the cedi rate to the dollar was around 7 Ghana cedis, 85 pesos. Today, as we're speaking, BDCs are quoting 8 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos to a dollar, which is used in calculating price of fuel in this particular window we're talking about. And sometimes the BDCs even go further to tell us that they are making forest losses, because some of the things the Bank of Ghana assured them of, or the Minister of Finance assured them of, they are not getting it. They go and still buy these dollars from the interbank, right? And for them, some even buy these dollars from the forex bureaus. And you know how costly it is to buy dollars from the forex bureaus. So these are the challenges they are facing. And I'm saying that if that measure or that intervention or that policy statement was anything to go by, we shouldn't be expecting the dollar to be around 8 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos today, because we should have been seeing a lower cedi rate to the dollar, which is an appreciation of the cedi to the dollar. But we are not seeing that, and it means that that measure was ineffective, inefficient, was just a political talk.
Because I also heard him say they have reasonably stabilized the cedi. You're saying that is not what the BDCs are seeing?
I think the normally ministers or deputy ministers come to Parliament to say things they don't actually know, because sometimes they are written for them to just come in and then speak on those issues. If he had actually stated the statement they gave him to come and say in Parliament, he wouldn't have made those proclamations or those statements he made, because the reality is that at the time when BDCs were fighting for dollars, the dollar was 7 Ghana cedis, 85 pesos. Today, the dollar is 8 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos. And I even know that beginning July, or which is the first window of July, the dollar may even appreciate further against the cedi. So the measure did not work.
Well, having said that, we are confronted with something today. We understand your projection. Okay, so now that you're on the line, let me not tell you what I've heard. Tell me, what's your projection for today's fuel price review?
So our projections are that if you look at the dollar, comparing the last window, which ended yesterday, to this window, the dollar depreciated, the cedi depreciated by 1.51%, which means that with Bank of Ghana's initiative or intervention, still the cedi is depreciating against the dollar within the petroleum sector or among certain BDCs importing products. So the dollar, the cedi depreciated against the dollar by 1.5%. Now, two, the international market price of diesel surged by about 17%. And then the international market prices of petrol also surged by about 14%. Now, when you look at these factors in calculating the prices locally for this window, it means that diesel is likely to surge by about 13%. And then petrol also likely to surge by about 11%. Averagely, both products surge in terms of surging in percentiles will be around 12%. In nominal terms, if the BDCs do not absorb some of these cost elements and then share some of these burden with the petroleum consumer, it means that diesel will be sold above 13 Ghana cedis per liter. And then petrol also sold above 12 Ghana cedis per liter, beginning today.
13 cedis above,
yes,
per liter for diesel.
Yes.
Wow. And petrol, you're looking at over 12 cedis.
Yes.
Where are we heading with this? Because I'm wondering, because every time there's a window, we are seeing an increase. Sometimes it may be marginal, at other times it may be as much as it is in this particular window. Ms. Nsiah, do a projection for me. Is there any way, anywhere, that we can see a decrease? Because I heard the minister yesterday, he says we have no control over what is happening in Ukraine. Looks like they are still looking to the markets they've been looking through all this years. And based on the president's own criticism of what is happening in Russia, your suggestion of turning to Russia, I don't know if government is even thinking about that, because it may not make government look as good as it has looked before its foreign partners. So where are we heading?
I think I disagree entirely when I hear people saying that prices are externally induced and not locally, because I've maintained that our neighbors, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Niger, Mali, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, our neighbors within the West African sub-region, all buy from some of the markets we are buying from. But ask yourself, why is fuel cheaper in Nigeria, in Togo, in Benin, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Sierra Leone, in Liberia? Why is fuel cheaper in these countries compared to ours? So it also means that it's not actually an external factor, but rather we are experiencing incessant hikes because of an internal factor. We have a loose cedi, we have a loose forex, and I think that if someone says in Parliament that it's because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, it is not entirely true, and we must disagree with the person, because if we put our house into order, I think that fuel prices should not be where they are. If our cedi appreciates and does well against the dollar, fuel prices should not be where they are, because we've seen stability in the price of petroleum products in the countries I mentioned earlier, because they have had a stable currency. They have had a management team, economics management team, whether I don't know how they call them, but they have had people who manage their economy well. They have had a Bank of Ghana governor who manages their forex well, and that is why they are not seeing the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict on their fuel prices like what we are observing in Ghana. Now, let me even state this emphatically. You see, sometimes ownership of a problem also gets us a solution to them. But I think if you have a government who doesn't want to own the problem, who doesn't want to claim that there's a problem, and for that matter, we need certain policy interventions from all stakeholders to curb that problem or to solve that problem, that is also a problem. Now, if you look at Russia itself, when Russia was going to Ukraine on 24th, the ruble was around 75 ruble to a dollar. That is the forex then. Now, when Russia entered Ukraine from the 28th, then sanctions started coming in, or speculations of sanctions started coming in. When sanctions came in, the ruble depreciated to 145 ruble to a dollar. Now, because we have people in Russia who think, we have people in Russia who see a problem and want to solve a problem, the Russian government, the Russian central bank, put measures in place. And then today, as we're speaking, the ruble is 55 ruble to the dollar. 8 years highest, the highest in 8 years. So people somewhere are thinking. We are not thinking. And we always want to apportion blame to others. Whilst we have people we pay with huge sums of money to think for us and get us better solutions. So if someone goes to parliament, and the saddest part is that it was being said in parliament, and no one could query and say, Mr. Minister, what measures, because comparatively, we all buy from the same market, but Togo is doing better than us. Ivory Coast is doing better than us. And last time, someone even called me from Elubu, telling me that today, in Elubu, their cylinder, 14.5 kg cylinder, LPG cylinder, is sold 70 Ghana cedis, because they sell it there 5,000 CFA. If you convert the CFA to Ghana cedis, it is 70 Ghana cedis. Whilst in Ghana, our 14.5 is around 160 Ghana cedis, 180 Ghana cedis, depending on where you are. So most Ghanaians now, along the borders, go to Cote d'Ivoire, go to Togo, go to Burkina Faso to buy fuel, and then import them, whether through the cylinders or whatever, bring them to Ghana, because they don't want to buy fuel from Ghana. And government is even losing. And people go to parliament, instead of you getting us the solutions, you are telling me, oh, it's Russia-Ukraine conflict. Even the Russia itself that is sanctioned. You Ghana, what is Ghana sanctioned? My brother, I want to know, is Ghana sanctioned?
Not that I know of.
So if Ghana is not sanctioned, the Russia that was sanctioned with over 1,000 sanctions, its currency is performing wonders against the dollar and the euro. What is Ghana's problem? What is Ghana's problem to always complain that Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia-Ukraine conflict? Because we don't want to own our problems. We don't want to claim responsibility. We just want to apportion blame. And that tells you how people reason and think in Ghana. And it's sad. It is sad. And I think government has not seen has not seen the seriousness of the situation. Because if today, one critical factor leading to higher inflation in Ghana is fuel, one critical factor leading to higher inflation in Ghana is transport, and you don't see it as a problem, however, it's very, very sad. So I don't want us to keep apportioning blames to Russia-Ukraine conflict. The problem could be external, but we have to act locally, internally, to solve the problem. And we need the measures. We need the policy interventions. We need people who can think and get the problem solved. Not people who come to parliament and tell us that it is Russia-Ukraine conflict. It is never Russia-Ukraine conflict because Russia is doing wonders with this currency. The problem goes beyond that. The problem is lack of thinking. And that is where we should see our problems and then solve them one by one. So if we don't get people who would think, then the Ghanaian petroleum consumer in Ghana should expect that by July, August, diesel will be touching somewhere 15 Ghana cedis per liter. That is the expectation.
By July, August, 15 Ghana cedis per liter.
Yeah. Yes, that is the expectation.
Wow.
Today, as we speak, the European Union yesterday had to go to Israel to go and look for natural gas. After looking for natural gas in Israel, they had to come to Egypt for Egypt to liquefy the gas and then sell it to them. That is people thinking somewhere, thinking about their citizens. Now a challenge comes, we are not exploring other markets.
Ghana's gold.
A challenge comes, we are not exploring other alternatives. Maybe because of information asymmetry. There's lack of information of other markets. Who have we put in place to study other market and tell us the strengths and weaknesses of this market and the risk involved and how to overcome them? We are just raised as there, not thinking and still complaining, oh, Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine. Once others are taking initiative somewhere.
Benjamin, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, my brother.
Benjamin Nsiah is head of research at the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. He says the basic problem is a lack of ownership of the problem. So our government currently is just saying that everything